Yesterday, at the keynote in Osaka, James White officially announced the next set. It's called The Hunted. It comes out in January of 2025, and my personal favorite part, we're going back to Volcor. During the keynote, 8 new heroes were announced, which is really interesting considering this is a confirmed draftable set. The more interesting part, 6 of those 8 heroes were named Arakni, which is really interesting. Now, Brian Gottlieb has hinted at this in the past in other interviews, so it's not completely surprising, but it is interesting to say the least. The other 2 heroes that were spoiled were both Royal and Draconic, one of them being a warrior and the other one being a ninja. Now, Draconic Ninja means a lot of happiness for me. You all know I loved Fi if you've been around for a while on the channel. When Fi was playable, I played it at almost every event. But now, that means we're getting more support for Fi, and we're getting a new Draconic Ninja, which means it's back to the brew tank. These are the 6 new Araknis. Now, we don't know hero text or what they're going to do yet, but if you look at the pictures, they all have a different vibe and a different look to them. If you look all the way on the right, it almost looks like that's like a mechanologist or an Evo piece there. So it looks like we have Arakni kind of moving towards the dash mechanologist side of things. Second from the right, that almost looks like a ninja to me. The way that the legs are kind of shaped and the way that that knee's up in the air reminds me of Rising Knee Thrust. And it's just interesting to see that we could have an Arakni ninja. Would definitely throw me for a loop and probably something I'd have to hop on board with. If you look over, the third one from the left is called Arakni Tarantula. I'm personally not a fan of spiders, but I do think it's pretty cool and the art's pretty sweet on it. They're really leaning into the fact that Arakni is more of a guild or a group name as opposed to an actual hero name. I like this because it opens up LSS to have more design space, and it's also just a really neat concept and not something we've seen yet. You have Mechanologist or you have Guardian, and those are the classes. But it appears that Arakni is like a guild within different classes, and so they're kind of everywhere, which is really neat, and I hope they lean into that and maybe give Arakni some kind of its own class later on in the game. You can't really tell exactly what all these are, especially because they're blurred out at the bottom of some of the text, but it's still cool to see all of them and the future design space that this offers. These are the 5 cards that we have spoiled right now that actually have text on them. We have our 6 Araknis and our 2 new Draconic heroes and a marked token, but none of them have text yet. These are the only 5 cards we have with text. The first 2 on the list are actually contract assassin cards, which are pretty cool. And they both say you are contracted to hit a marked hero with name X. Whenever you complete this contract, draw a card. Now, it's showing us these cards because Fang and Cindra are the 2 new heroes that they've spoiled to us. So it's pretty cool to see how marked could work with some of our contract cards in Assassin for all the Arakni lovers out there. The next card is called Proclaim Vengeance. This card is really sweet because it says mark target opposing hero. If that hero is Arakni, you actually gain a resource. Now this card is an instant, which is pretty cool, meaning you can actually play it at instant speed. So if an opponent's going to let an attack through, you can gain a resource at instant speed and you can mark them to be able to hit your contract. And I have a couple of theories of how Ninja is going to work with marked. We're going to talk about those here in just a minute. Fealty token. This is a Draconic token aura, which is really interesting. This says instant, destroy this. The next card you play this turn is Draconic. At the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't created a fealty token or played a Draconic card this turn, destroy this. It's really cool to have the text around hey, you have to meet conditions to be able to keep this around if you want it. But it is an instant that says destroy this. So I guess it kind of just pushes your hand to use it earlier, sooner rather than later. But looking at your hand, you'll have an idea of how you're going to be able to keep this around or what you're going to be able to do with it. Plus, if we're playing new Draconic heroes, you're probably going to be having Draconic cards on the board that you can play and that you're going to be able to get value with and keep the fealty token around. The last card we've seen is Art of the Dragon Blood. Now, this is a 0 for 4 that blocks 3, and it's a ninja action. Makes me super happy. There's one keyword here missing that I really wish was there. Go again is not at the bottom. When this attacks, if it is Draconic, it gets go again, and the next 3 Draconic cards you play this turn cost 1 less to play. So this is a 0 for 4 that if you make it Draconic, it gains Go Again, and then you're actually getting the Blood of Dracai effect of reducing the next 3 cards by 1 cost, which means you could play a 0 cost Breaking Point, which is like basically just a weird Command and Conquer. Now I understand it's not exactly Command and Conquer, but still being able to like use this text, we already have a 0 for 4 that blocks 3. The conditional Go Again is a little scary for me, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, this is the first card we've seen, so we can't build too much, but don't worry. I have some speculation and some ideas on what our new Draconic Ninja is going to look like. This marked token looks pretty sweet. The marked token says you are marked until an opponent hits you. We've already seen how the contract effect works with this. You mark an opponent, and then when you fulfill the contract of a marked opponent, you're actually able to draw a card with a couple of cards we've seen. We've only seen one card that actually does the marking so far, which is really interesting, and it's an instant. So are we going to be looking at a lot of cards at instant speed that mark them so that it kind of lets our marking cards play as an attack reaction? Or are we going to lean into more action cards that actually you're required to do it up front at the beginning of your turn? Which is really kind of interesting to think about because Arakni getting the ability to do it at instant speed gives him a lot of value. But a deck like Ninja or Warrior already has a lot of reactions. You probably don't want to give them that many instant speed things. You want to make them play face up and have the value up front for what they're trying to accomplish. So I think we'll see Ninja and Warrior really lean into the action side of the marked effect. Cindra, Dracai of Retribution, is here to welcome us back to Volcor. Now, we haven't seen her hero text yet, and we don't know what she does, but I think her picture will actually tell us a little bit more about her story and what we can expect from this set. You'll notice in the background that she has like these like fiery daggers that are flying all around her. I think that is honestly a symbol that we're going to be looking at Draconic Kodachis. Now, Kodachis have seen a lot of play in Ninjas in the past, but if we're talking about Draconic Kodachis, we're talking about a whole new development, and we're also limiting them to just the Draconic talent, which could be really cool. Draconic Kodachis Go Again would have to be based around pitching a Draconic card, which is really neat because it opens us up to like playing more interesting like blues to be able to pitch to Kodachis like Mounting Anger or Engulfing Flamewave, which has not been possible in the past because you needed to pitch 0 cost cards. So you're really giving us more powerful on-hit effects if that's the route that LSS decided to go with this hero. Draconic Kodachis could make Cindra really interesting. The next thing I want to talk about is the mark effect. I think there's going to be a powerful non-attack action, probably at Majestic, for Cindra in this set. It could be for honestly all of the Draconic class, kind of like we had an Uprising. We could be looking at a powerful Majestic that blocks 3 that says mark a hero and on hit do X, like draw a card or buff or return something to your hand from your graveyard. You could be looking at any number of things there, but I really think we're going to get a powerful non-attack action that you have to start your turn with. Now, I say this because so far we've seen a Ninja and we've seen a Warrior. Both of those classes have either reactions from Warrior or Ninja goes super wide. So looking at that effect, I think it would be a little crazy for Ninja and Warrior to have more instant speed, like marking opponents to be able to do things. So that's why I think LSS would have made the decision to lean into Majestic non-attack actions. So it's on the board, your opponent knows it's coming, and they have to make those decisions early on in the turn on how they want to sequence it. It also sets up heroes like Cindra and Fang to be able to play powerful 5-card hands when they're able to arsenal good power cards, with Art of War being out of the game. Art of War more so affecting Cindra than Fang, but still. The other thing I want to talk about is her hero ability. I think her hero ability is really going to lean into the idea of marking or doing something powerful like that. Like her hero ability could be something similar to Fi's, where it says pay 3 and then it's reduced by 1 for each Draconic chain link you have. And it says mark hero, the next attack action that hits them draws a card. Or the next attack action that does this like returns something to your hand. Or the next attack action that hits gives the next thing +3. So your opponent could actually let it hit if it is a buff in some way, because if you're out of cards, you can't spin the buff. So it's actually kind of strategic on how you would have to play that as the Cindra player, I think they've really left her open to a lot of abilities, and I'm really excited to see how much she leans into the actual Uprising cards as opposed to just being full run and gun from the new set and trying to make it all happen with the cards that LSS is going to give us in the Hunted. I know that when it comes to Cindra's hero ability, I'm probably reaching a little bit and I'm probably trying to make it a little bit too good, but I can't help it. My boy Fi has been off the menu for a long time, and I'm very excited that we're going to Volcor because it means that we're getting a new Draconic Ninja, and also like we could be getting new Fi support. I would love to get new Fi support as I really enjoyed him. Fi was the first like real competitive hero that I really started like practicing and like trying to like really make a deep dive into. So it would be neat to see him get some extra support. Guys, if you all have thoughts on the new set, or maybe you think I got something wrong, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.